In this video, we want to examine and to illustrate the difference between a change in quantity demanded and a change in demand. Just as a quick review, let's recall that quantity demanded is simply the number of units that a consumer or consumers will purchase at a given price. So quantity demanded is a number like 700, 800 units. Demand, on the other hand, is a relationship. It is the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity of that good that consumers are willing and able to purchase. So demand is a relationship between price and quantity demanded. It would not be appropriate for us to say that demand is 700. Demand must be represented by either a schedule or a graph or a mathematical equation. So it's important that we understand the distinction between a change in quantity demanded and a change in demand. A change in quantity demanded is represented by and this is the key word, a movement along a given demand curve. And it occurs only when the price of the good changes. So when the price of a good goes up or down, rises or falls, we see a change in quantity demanded. A change in demand, on the other hand, is represented by a leftward or a rightward shift in the demand curve. And that occurs when one of the determinants of demand changes. And we will discuss 5 or so various determinants of demand. So let's visualize these differences. Here we have a demand curve, and let's suppose that the price of our good rises from $2 to $4. At $2, quantity demanded is 500 units, and at $4, quantity demanded is 300 units. So we're moving from a price of $2 to a price of $4. And as we do, we are moving along the demand curve from point A to point B. And we're seeing a 200 unit decline in quantity demanded. Quantity demanded falls from 500 to 300. So this is a change. This is a change in quantity demanded. And again, this is represented by a movement along a demand curve. In this case, we're moving in a northwestward direction. We're moving up along a demand curve. So again, this is caused by a change in the price of this good. In this case, the price increased from $2 to $4. This is a change in quantity demanded. Now let's start with the same demand curve, and now let's examine a change in demand. So a change in demand is represented by a shift of the curve. So let's suppose something occurs that causes demand to increase. Let's suppose there's an increase in income or an increase in the number of consumers, or one of the other determinants of demand changes, resulting in an increase in demand. Well, this will cause the demand curve to shift to the right. For example, the demand curve may move from its original position to the new blue demand curve. We could call that D2. The original would be D1. And this is an increase in demand. Now, how do we know this is an increase in demand? Well, let's just look at a particular price, say $3. At $3, the quantity demanded was originally 400 units. I missed that by a little bit. After the demand has increased, the quantity demanded is now 600 units at the same $3 price. So at every price, quantity demanded has increased. So consumers are now buying more of this good at every price. This is a clear increase in demand. Similarly, we can represent a decrease in demand. That would be represented by a leftward shift in the demand curve, and it would look something like this. We might call this D3. This is a decrease in demand at every price. Quantity demanded is lower. So in this case, at a price of $3, quantity demanded is about 250. So at every price, quantity demanded is lower. So this represents a decrease in demand. And again, this is an actual movement or a shift in the demand curve. A change in quantity demanded is represented by a movement along the demand curve. A change in demand is represented by a shift in the demand curve.